But he didn't start that way. At first, Buck was a small-time hustler, dem bags on the corner. Same old story until my pop got popped at the payphone that night. Then he became a big brother to Sean and a robber to a bunch of suburban neighborhoods every morning. He knew better than to jack people around here and come back with money, the most sneakers, the best, and jewelry, which he loved to show off. Back to Frick. I was shocked when I heard that this dude killed Buck. Yeah, Buck said, hang on Frick's shoulder. Oh, buddy. This the guy. He glanced at me. Sean never told you that story? Never really talked about it, I said. Sean just said you were shot, and that he knew who did it. I explained, remembering that time. Sean's face a candle, melted wax, flame flickering out. I remember the cops banging on our door to question him, to tell him they heard he was close to James. That was the one time I heard Buck's real name, and asked him if he knew who might have done it, killed him, shot him twice in the stomach and straight. Sean ain't say nothing to the cops, to no one, just locked himself in his room for hours, and the next day I caught him sitting on his bed pushing bullets into gunplay. Well, let me tell you, Buck said. We were hanging out at the court, sharing a bottle of something cheap and strong just before it went down. Buck said Sean was telling me how he had gotten into a little scuffle. Nothing major, with one of the dudes from the Dark Sons. Buck said he had to get his mother some kind of soap she uses that he could only get from the store down by where they hang out. A dumb thing to say would have been to tell Buck how important that soap was, that it stopped Mom from scraping loads of rubber wounds, but instead I just said Riggs. I'm not sure what his name is, Buck said. Sean said he was going to the store when the dude ran up on him talking all this shit. Said it was nothing serious, just popping off at the mouth about how he was a dark son and how Sean ain't belong around here. Riggs said Sean was in his feelings, all huff explaining to Buck how he had grown up with the kid and how the kid was brand new. Buck said he told Sean to let it roll off, but he couldn't because that's just how he was. All emotional all the time, Buck said. Riggs. Well, he is going on about this dude. I'm trying to show him this chain I just got from some kid out in the burbs. Didn't even snatch it. I just growled a little bit and asked for it, and the suka just took it right off and handed it to me. Ain't even snatch it. Buck said, thinking back on that day, like he still couldn't believe it. But what does that have to do with my brother and this guy? I said, pointing to Frick. Hold on, I'm getting to that. So because Sean was tripping so hard about this dude, I gave him the gold chain, Buck said, proud. A gift, his first one. Then Sean left the basketball court. And that's when I came. Frick chimed in, a big smile on his face like he had just won some kind of award. How to become a dark sun. 1. Turf, 9 blocks from where I live. 2. The Shining, a cigarette burn under the right eye. 3. Dark date, robbing someone, beating someone, or the worst, killing someone. Note, apparently you also gotta be corny. I was assigned my dark deed for imitation, Frick explained. And it was to kill Buck? No, he said. Funny thing is, I was just supposed to rob him. I didn't think it was a funny thing at all. Everybody knew Buck was always flossing, always flashy, but nobody would touch him because of his pops. Both of them, real and stop, real and stuff. Gangstas always respect older, original gangstas ogus from preachers who act like gangstas. Frick said his plan was to jack the jack boy. Said he knew Buck would be at the court. So he ran up on him, pulled the hammer, and got laughed at. Buck said he couldn't get got by a dude who he could tell was as soft as the suburban joker he'd just jacked. Everybody in the elevator laughed except me. Whatever, man, Frick said. I was just trying to earn my stripes. Can I knock? Can I knock? Can't knock me for that. He turned around, caught eyes with Pop and Uncle Mark. They nodded in agreement. No judgment over here. And Uncle Mark said, throwing his hands up, anyway, this crazy fool Buck swings at me, just tries to take me even though I had a boomstick. Frick looked at Buck, shook his head, then cut his eyes to me. I got scared, so I pulled the trigger. Buck bent his pinky and ring finger back, turned his hand into a gun. Wrong, bang, bang. Again, what does this have to do with Sean? I asked. Sean stuck to the rules, Freckle replied. You mean I swallowed? You mean I struggled to get it out. Now Buck put the finger gun against Frick's chest and repeated. Bang, bang. Actually, he only pulled the trigger once, so it was more like bang. Frick corrected. 15 bullets. Took me out before I ever even got my shiny, Frick said. Rob rubbed just under his right eye, like it still rubbed him the wrong way. Frick yanked his collar down. See this? He asked, exposing a hole in his chest. Dime-sized, disgusting, bloody, but not bleeding. Your brother's fingertips are in there somewhere. Buck had replied before I had a chance. And I bet it's his middle finger. When the joke was over, I asked how Sean could have known Frick was the guy who killed Buck. Buck said there was only one other person at the court that night, always there all the time, a young kid running back and forth trying to dunk, not shoot. said he thinks I might have known him. Tony. And he wasn't trying to dunk, he was trying to fly. Tony talking ain't the same as snitching. Snitching is bumping guns, gums to badges. But Tony ain't run to no cops or cried to no cameras, nothing like that. Tony talking was laying claim, loyalty, and allegiance to the asphalt around here, an attempt to grow taller, get bigger, one way or another. Now let me ask you how you know this kid Riggs got your brother. Buck fired back, because he clearly got revenge for Sean taking out this guy. I pointed to Frick. Frick, you know a kid named Riggs. Danny asked out of nowhere, her voice floating over my shoulder. Little dude, big mouth, dark son. I figured the description might help. Frick looked at me confused. Who? Anagram number 5. I wish I knew an anagram for poster. Poser. Frick looked at me like I was crazy, shrugged his shoulders, and turned around and faced the door. Couldn't see his reflection, couldn't see any of their reflections, just mind blown. Frick had his own cigarettes and his own matches. Finally, the elevator came to a stop. When the elevator door opened, no one was there, so I reached over and pushed the L button again and again and again and again, because that's what you do when you want the door to close faster. Another one of those elevator rules. Come on, I huffed under my breath. Impatient, pissy, pissed off, scared, scarred, and straight up uncomfortable being crammed in this stupid steel box, this vertical coffin. Another second. Uncle Mark chuckled. You would never survive in prison, nephew. Finally, the elevator door began closing. I exhaled, happy we were almost there, one floor to go. Just before it was shut, before the door clicked in place, 4 fingers slipped in, just barely catching it. The elevator door began opening again. Him, Sean, stepped into the smoky box wearing exactly what he wore the night before, blue jeans, t-shirt, gold chain, but not his live outfit, his dead one, the one that came with bloodstains. Everybody was so happy to see him. Sean, Buck yelped, reaching out for him. They slapped hands. Buck fiddled with the gold chain around Sean's neck, moved the clasp to the back. Sean looked at Danny. Look at you, he said, taking her hand, spinning her around. Uncle Mark gave him a light tap on the ribs. Big man, he said proudly. Sean turned, gave him a hug, caught a glimpse of our father. Pop, he said, natural, his face beaming. Our father wrapped his arms around Sean, cocooning him, then pulled away, shook hands like men, like partners. and Dad lined up along the wall, puffing their cigs, smiling, as Sean finally faced me. When we were kids, I would follow Sean around the apartment, making the strangest noise with my mouth. Hard to explain the sound, burpy but not a burp, like burp mixed with yawn mixed with hum, something like that, for 20 minutes straight, from bedroom to kitchen to living room, back to bedroom. To punish me, he would wait for me to finish, to run out of steam, to let it go, to get tired of being immature. And then, to my surprise, he wouldn't say a word to me for the rest of the day. I looked at Sean, he looked at me. Sean, I said, but he said nothing. I repeated, Sean, nothing. I stepped toward him, bugged him. He didn't hug back. Just stood there, awkward, middle drawer of a man. I asked him why he wouldn't say nothing, why he was ignoring me, but still nothing, not a word, not even a smile. I told him about the drawer, the gun, that I did like he told me, like Buck told him, like our grandfather told our uncle, like our uncle told our dad. I followed the rules, at least the first two. I hadn't cried, I hadn't snitched. Explained that I was on my way to take care of his killer, follow through with rule number 3. Told him I knew it was rigs, told him I thought it was rigs, and told him I knew it was rigs again. Confessed that I was scared, that I needed to know I was doing the right thing. The rules are the rules. I was breaking down. The tears were coming, and I did what I could to hold them back. Took my eyes off Sean, hoping to find the crying feeling by not looking. But everywhere else was everyone else, cigarettes glowing like a bunch of L buttons. I looked back at Sean, tears now pouring from his eyes as he softly snotted and hiccuped like a little kid. Tears pouring from his eyes, tears pouring from his eyes, tears pouring from his eyes. I thought you said no crying, Sean, I said, voice cracking, one of my tears bursting free, but only one, so it didn't count. No crying, no crying, no crying, no crying. And even though his face was wet with tears, he wasn't supposed to cry when he was alive. I couldn't see him as anything less than my brother, my favorite, my own. And there was a sound, like whatever makes elevators work, cables and cogs or whatever, grinding, rubbing metal on metal, like a machine moaning, but coming from the mouth, from the belly of Sean. He never said nothing to me, just made that painful, piercing sound as suddenly the elevator came to a stop. And in thought number 5, the sound you hear in your head, the one people call ears ringing, sounds less like a bell and more like a flat line. There was a moment before the door opened when we all just stood there, sickening, smoke thickening, crowded in. The cell, this coffin, this elevator, quiet. I looked around, only seeing orange glow of 5 cigarettes puncturing the sheet of smoke like headlights in heavy fog. Only 5 cigarettes. Sean hadn't lit one, became invisible in the cloud, and I felt like the cigarette meant for him was burning in my stomach, filling me with stinging fire. I won out. The door opened slowly, the cloud of smoke rushing out of the elevator, rushing out of me like an angry wave. I got my breath as Buck, Danny, Uncle Mark, Pop, Frick, and Sean chased behind it, the L button no longer lit. I stood alone in the empty box, face tight from dried tears, jeans soggy, a loaded gun still tucked in my waistband. Sean turned back toward me, eyes dull from death, but shining from tears. Finally spoke to me, just two words like a joke he'd been saving. You coming?